Jay, it was one hell of a week in the theme parks, wasn't it?
It was a fantastic week.
Absolutely. I have nothing but great things to say about it. Jay, let's do a show telling everybody about planning, how to execute, and what to expect at the Disney World and Universal Florida theme parks, because we just spent a calendar week in the theme parks, right?
We did.
We have some really good advice for you. Summer is starting. People are taking trips. Let's get into the show. I am Steve.
I'm Jay.
And this is Ink and Paint. All right, Jay. So how's it going, dude? Haven't seen you in a few days.
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing
we had
good.
A little excitement at the end of that week.
We did. The listeners should know that what we're talking about today is going to be theme park heavy. Jay and I just executed a trip 3 years in the making. I don't know if anybody saw the Ink and Paint Instagram, but we went for the opening of Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind opening. We were there 4 days after it opened in Disney's Epcot Center in Orlando, Florida. And it was a fun-filled trip. We went to pretty much every park you could go to. We went to 3 of them. We did not go to Magic Kingdom, but then I got stuck there an extra day, so we did go do both of the Universal parks as well. My daughter did sort of split up with us one day and go to Magic Kingdom. So together in our little group, we tackled every Universal and Disney theme park outside of the water parks. So we're here to talk about that today and go over sort of what it's all about.
I'm ready.
All right. So first of all, Jay, you got to Florida a couple of days early to go relax and rewind before going to the theme parks, which is a great idea.
Yes. It was one of those things that my wife and I, we decided to do exactly that. Just go there, kind of relax before we hit the parks. And we ended up going down to Cocoa Beach and spent 3 days down there.
Which is about a 40-minute drive from Orlando, maybe an hour, right? Something closer to that. Yeah. So it's the closest beachy area. It's where the cruise ships leave from and everything like that. So cool town. And then you met us. We arrived on a Monday, and you drove up and met us at we stayed at the Disney World Pop Century, which was in their middle tier of their pricing structure. It's not the bottom, it's not the top, it's right in the middle. And I absolutely have nothing but great things to say about the hotel. First of all, Jay, what about you?
I totally agree with you. It was very fun. It was a very fun place to stay. Very clean, and yeah, I have nothing but good things, great things to say about them.
Yeah, the staff that works there is fantastic. The organization, it's clean. We stayed in about a month and a half ago, Sarah and I stayed in the Mirrored property, which is the Art of Animation, which is shocking that it's 10 years newer, but feels 20 years older. We did not like the Art of Animation, but we love Pop Century. So this is one of our go-to hotels. If you're planning a trip and you're looking at it, I would highly recommend looking at Pop Century. The theming is kind of goofy and cute. It's not necessarily on point Disney, although there are Disney characters on property that are big ceramic ones. It doesn't necessarily feel like you're at, a Disney resort outside of that, right, Jay? It's a little more neutral based on the different genres since the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And obviously there's a big Baloo. There's a giant Roger Rabbit. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff there, but it doesn't come across as like over-the-top Disney on your head. I kind of like that. Kind of like how I used to love staying at Paradise Pier because it didn't feel like a Disney property. It felt more like a vintage Southern California hotel. Yes. You get that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, really, the only thing like that was Disney in our room. There was a picture of, what was it, like 4 heads? 3 different heads?
Yeah. So, exactly. And the theming is very similar. You'll get the Mickey logo on some stuff here and there. But, yeah, I just love that hotel. I like its access to the parks. They have the Skyliner train that's right next to it, so you can take that to Epcot and Hollywood Studios, which we did multiple times. So let's get into the parks, Jay, because we liked the hotel, but we loved going to the parks. So the first thing that we did is, and we're going to try to keep this short, we went to our first day, we set our sights straight on Epcot to go on the ride that we've been talking about for 3 years. Right, Jay?
Yeah.
And there was a level of anxiety because right now, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind does not have a standby line. It is only by reservation. So we were nervous. And Sarah was anxious and not sleeping well because she was in charge of getting the fast passes for everybody, which are called Lightning Lane. I'm going to keep on calling them fast passes, though, because it sounds better. But Sarah got them. We were in the first group. It originally told us that our return time was around noon. And then all of a sudden we're in line for Remy's Ratatouille 10 minutes after park opening for on-site people. And it said, you better get over there because it went from noon until 9 a.m. So we hauled over there. So here's a tip for everyone looking to do these rides. You have to make sure that you have the Disney Genie portion of your ticket paid for, or else you cannot do those rides. It will not work.
Yeah.
You have to have it. So then you have to start refreshing your phone at around 6:55, and you do not have to be on site for it. Most of the parks aren't even open at that time. You can do it from your house, your hotel, whatever. But you do have to have a ticket for that day in that park with a reservation for that day.
Yes.
So then at about 5 minutes till, you open that up and you just start refreshing under the app lines, under the lightning lanes. And at 7 a.m., they release the first part of the day's tickets. And you have to rush, get it really fast. Sarah was on top of it. We got it without using dual phones, but I do know a lot of people have problems with it.
Well, what I was going to say is kind of like with our group, we kind of, and it was nice that we were able to link up all together so we could go ahead and refresh on that one because we were coming from different states and everything. Everybody had their own, reservations. Yeah. So in that aspect, I would say if you are hooking up with another group, you may want to go ahead and look into doing, something like that, linking up, because it really is a time saver. I mean, thank goodness that Sarah was there because I could feel the stress and I didn't want any part of it. I mean, she was great.
Yeah, and I'll up that a little bit. Sarah is the expert at doing this. She's been using those passes since Star Wars Land, Galaxy's Edge first opened. She's really good at it. But I'll tell you, you just nailed it, Jay. If you're going with a multiple party situation, definitely link up your tickets with your friends or family that are also going. And you can do that on the app. And on the website, all you need is the other person to be near their phone because they do have to, what do we have to do, Jay? You had to accept the request, kind of like friending somebody. And then they're linked up so that one person can do it. Here's the reason why I'm stressing that is getting one person to refresh it is easier than having both people with dual phones. Yes. When you get 60,000 people refreshing at the same time, one of you may get it and the other one may not. So it's crucial that you link up so that everybody's on the same thing, and then you just plan ahead. So here's how ticket releases go for that. They have a 7 a.m. They release the tickets from anywhere. Then they do a second dump of tickets for the evening at 1 p.m. But you have to be in that park at 1 p.m. It geolocates you, and if you are not in that park, you will not get an opportunity to get those fast passes / lightning lane. You just won't. It's called a virtual queue, by the way, but you know what I mean. So you have to be in that physical park. Luckily, we didn't have to do that, even though we didn't leave Epcot that day. We stayed there the whole day. And then they also release sometimes, based on popularity, at 6 p.m. for people staying on property. You can do that as well. They're really trying to get everybody into these rides. So I will give them credit for adding a third one. Now, we didn't need it, but it was there, which made me feel significantly better. Right, Jay?
Yes.
So, and that goes for a couple of other rides. Rise of the Resistance is like that as well. But Rise of the Resistance also has a standby line. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind does not. It's still in its opening phases, which is reservation only. So let's get into the ride real quick. Jay, go for it.
So just real quick, you do want to make sure that you get your reservations because I realized as we're walking in, the amount of people that did not know that, and I was seeing being turned away. So you want to make sure that you go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
So so I got to tell you, once we got in, the queue line itself was fantastic. There's so much to go ahead and look at when you're there. Walking through, there's videos left and right. You have models left and right. I mean, there is so much that's going on. It's really cool to look at, really pretty to look at.
Agreed. And we heard earlier that the queue was meh at best. And I can see why. It does lack physical, movable characters. There is no animatronic Hondo like in Smuggler's Run. There is no big giant storyline like Rise of the Resistance, and there aren't a ton of physical things to look at like in Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Mission Breakout. But what they lack in that is a large indoor queue with multiple screens and a very deep storytelling aspect where they're telling the story of Xandar. And the whole point of the story is it's talking about the history of Xandar, their military, how they run. And they said something interesting in the queue line where they said that in less than 1,000 years, the gravitational pulls between our two galaxies will put Xandar and Terra, which is Earth, right next to each other, and they would be neighboring planets. So I thought that was an interesting thing to put out there. But side note, this ride does take place in between Guardians. Where would this take place, Jay? Like right during the middle of Guardians 1? Because Groot is still big Groot. He's adult regular Groot. Gamora is still a part of the team. And that kind of thing. So the timeline puts it definitely before Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, while Groot is still large. But a little bit of a plot hole there because Baby Groot is at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy, not Big Groot. I think they just shoved him in like that for fun.
I kind of agree with you because I was thinking, is it almost like a prequel to Mission Breakout?
It could be a prequel, which would mean it had to have taken place like in the middle of Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Having Groot being an adult doesn't really make sense. I can't make sense of the story of that, but the story of the ride is that Eason, right? That's his name, the big Celestial. He is angry at humans, Terrans, because we have destroyed the planet and keep on fighting. And he said that we were a mistake, and he grabs our planet and he starts twisting it back in time, and he's going to erase Terra, Earth, from existence by going back to when it was first created and undoing it, right?
Yeah. By the way, I want to let everybody know, if you guys have not been on these rides, if you haven't, seen anything, we're probably going to go ahead and tell you spoilers.
Oh, thank you. We are spoiling this heavy. Good job, Jay.
However, I got to tell you, even with the spoilers, it has the experience in itself will overtake any spoilers. So I would just put that out there.
Agreed. So. There are spoilers. And also, I highly recommend watching ride videos for this because my brother-in-law, after I told him how cool the ride was, he went and watched it, but he doesn't get any of the ride mechanic because it's dark. So he didn't really get what was going on. So it was cool to explain that to him because he didn't have any idea of what the ride mechanic was like. So anyway, thank you, Jay. Spoilers ahead for the ride. But again, I don't think it's a crucial thing. It's not a game changer. But so that's the point of the ride. And the Guardians, how they're doing that is the Xandarians have, the portals that they go through, the jump spots to travel between galaxies. They have made that first jump spot machine, and it's like a big ball. And he stole that. Eason stole that. He's using that to erase our existence. So the Guardians of the Galaxy jump in the Milano, and they use the portal to follow him, and they're trying to get back so that they don't undo our existence. So the story of the ride is goofy. I can't figure out where it goes in the canon timeline of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but it is wildly fun. So we will go into great detail on the Guardians of the Galaxy ride probably throughout the show, but I'll just say what I really enjoyed about the ride and made it worth the entire trip was it's a very unique ride mechanic. The closest I've seen was the ride in Universal Studios Florida, which is Escape from Gringotts, which is a roller coaster with rows of two. So you have two in front and two in the back, and each of you is in a rotating little Milano-looking Xandarian ship, but they're together in pairs. So in each ride car, they seat 4 people on 2 different rotating cars. So your main car goes forward, but while your car is going forward on the track, the cars that you sit in rotate and even spin in circles. So you spin. So what is really cool is the show inside, which is fantastic, which very much seems to me like what's it called? Space Mountain. It looks like Space Mountain on the inside with screens and more fun music, obviously. It looks just like that. Dark with stars and then screens and then us flying around and going. You'll be going full speed forward, and then your car will rotate to the left so that the whole ride is looking forward, but actually going to the right, if you understand what I'm saying. Imagine if you're sitting in your desk chair and you turn your head left, but you continued going forward. That's what it feels like. It's a very unique feeling, and it makes it really fun.
And I totally agree with you. This is one of the rides where I didn't quite know what to expect, even with, like you were saying earlier with your brother-in-law, is you can see as much as you want to on YouTube and stuff, but until you're actually on that ride, it's a totally different feeling, totally different experience.
It's unlike any ride I've been on at that speed. And like I said, Escape from Gringotts does the same thing, except it's slower and relies more on big screens and a stop and go. This is a full-on Space Mountain with rotating cars.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So sorry, I cut you off, Jay.
Oh, no, you're okay. No, I was just going to add on to that too. I don't remember what the signs or anything out front, because I'm actually kind of curious on some of the rides that we were on. As always, be cautious. If you're suffering from anything, do your homework as far as if you can go on certain rides or not. I would say that this is one of those rides that if you have maybe an issue with like vertigo or something that you may want to stay away from. However, I don't think it's anywhere towards the extreme. But again, do your homework.
Yeah, agreed. That's well said. This is definitely an intense ride, but I would assume you would know that when you get on a similar style ride, because it is very much like Space Mountain. I would, if I was going to compare it to any other ride, more than Gringotts, it's more like Space Mountain, except that with a way better ride mechanic. So it's really cool.
Space Mountain with screens.
Yep, Space Mountain with better screens and rotating ride cars.
Yes.
So. Not to stay on this for forever, but the ride is funny. There are 6 different songs. We all chose a song, and my song won. We got September, and that was what I was really excited for. That and Jay's pick, which was Conga by Gloria Estefan, which would have been wildly funny to listen to. It was just hysterical.
I gotta tell you though, I really wish I would have won, because that would just make the next day's shirt even better.
Yeah, because then the next day, Jay, instead of wearing a Disney shirt, he wore a Gloria Estefan shirt, and it was the funniest thing ever. I mean, when Jay does his shirts, he knows what he's doing. He plans this out insanely funny. It makes it a lot of fun. But yeah, so I will say it right now. We will get into the ride thing because we are going to do a quick breakdown of our favorite theme park rides in a little bit. But this is incredibly high up on my list.
I agree.
And it did make the trip worth it.
Yes.
Very expensive trip, but it did make it absolutely worth it. And I'm glad we got to go there this early on. I would go again later if the opportunity to do the ride twice in one day was there. Meaning if they open up a standby line, maybe in the fall we would go for one day to Epcot again or something like that, because I liked it that much. We did only get to do it one time, just one time.
So you wouldn't go again if you could only do it once? It would have to be like 2 times at least?
Yep, absolutely. If they opened up a standby line, I would entertain the idea of going again. It's a very expensive trip and a long trip for us to get there. It's a 4-hour flight with a very expensive hotel and Ubers and all that stuff. Different than going to California because we can drive that. But I do enjoy that trip. And if we could do it twice, I would do it.
Nice.
So, and then that finished out our day, started our day there. We also ate at the Mexican restaurant, which was very good. I will say one thing, the food here was very good, but I had one standout food experience that I cannot wait to tell you about. It was on our last day, but the food is always fantastic. All the food in Epcot is top notch. I walked around, I think with a drink the entire day, just because there's so many good things to eat and drink in Epcot, which is kind of the point of that park.
Yeah.
But so Jay, what other rides did we do? Let's go over those really quickly. We went on Ratatouille, and I know you guys were excited about that. Remy's Ratatouille Escape or whatever it's called.
So that was the very first ride that we hit. The queue line spent a lot of time outside.
Yep.
So, that wasn't bad because we were there first thing in the morning. I could tell you, though, as the day goes on, be prepared to be hot. So for that particular ride, I was actually really looking forward to it. I like Ratatouille. I don't think it's like, in my top 5, but I like the movie.
Jay, explain what the ride is like. I highly recommend going and watching ride videos for all of these, but the Ratatouille ride is very interesting, and it's trackless, which I think is very cool. That's the new trendy thing that they're doing with dark rides.
And that's one thing I noticed throughout the trip is the amount of trackless rides.
Yeah, they are going to that a lot now, which is a very cool thing. It feels kind of organic when you're on the floor, and it looks really cool to have the partnering sort of the other parties in your group rotating and spinning around you. It's pretty cool. But Jay, talk about the ride real quick.
So you're sitting in a rat. How many seats were there, Steve?
6, 3 up front, 3 in the back, I think.
Okay.
2 rows.
So you're going through the ride. You got the screens everywhere. We were all able to get on one particular rat, right? We weren't split up.
No, so I guess maybe it was, Jay, was it 6, 3, and 3? Because, it was Lila and her friend, Sarah and I, and you and Dana. So we all got our own rat. That is true. So maybe it's seats 3 and 3. Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay. So, so you have the screens on you. It's another, the trackless rides you're kind of going through. It's a 3D ride. So you have your 3D glasses on. You got, again, the screens in front of you, the trackless ride. So you're just kind of bouncing back and forth from screen to screen. And it's basically playing, I don't want to say the movie for Ratatouille, but it's along those same lines. Like you could see that it's part of the movie at some point. It could have happened type thing.
It looks like you're a rat running around and escaping Gusteau's with Remy and the rest of the rats. So you're shrunken down, you're small, the screens are huge, there's feet, there's a really cool real life dark ride stuff. Like when you go underneath an oven, you can feel the heat above your head.
Yes.
A lot of like smells and stuff, but it's a high speed ride. And I would compare it to Transformers or Spider-Man, which is where you're a 3D ride and the cart moves through this big building going up and down elevators without you knowing it while you escape the sort of the plot of the ride. So a very cute ride. It was the second time that I have done it, and it's very, very cool. Again, go check out ride videos if you want to see it. Good news about that ride is up until Guardians opened, its Lightning Lane or virtual queue, whatever we're calling it, was a $12 per person per ride waiting list. And because Guardians opened, they took it away. So now it is a free ride to join the Lightning Lane, which is fantastic. I also think that that's one of the only economical smart things that Disney has done is they're not making everybody pay for it. It's literally just the one ride. So I thought that was cool. We jumped right in the line and we waited about 40 minutes, Jay?
Yeah, about 40 minutes.
Yeah, so we enjoyed that ride a lot. Also, we went on Test Track. We did Nemo, which really interesting observation doing Nemo. I've done the Nemo ride in California about 1 billion times, which is in a submarine. It's the same ride, except it's not in a submarine. It's in a rotating cart that follows a track, very much like Haunted Mansion or The Little Mermaid. It's the same videos, too, except instead of being underwater, you're in a little ride car following it slowly through the ride. I did not realize that until Sarah and I were like, this is familiar. Oh, my God, it's the same stuff. So I thought that was really cool. They're good at using the same thing in both parks. Jay, anything else you want to take on when we talk about Epcot? Because I will say the big complaint with Epcot is people say it's a half-a-day park. And I will go ahead and say I completely agree.
And I totally agree with that. Totally agree. There's really not a whole lot. I mean, again, you're going to be going to Epcot. You're going there for the food, the drinks, just kind of hang out, type thing. We spent a ridiculous amount of money there in Epcot, but that's more or less because my wife likes to shop and she has a very expensive taste and she loves to shop. So, so just be prepared for that. That's kind of what the area that you're going into.
Well, it's great. I personally really like Epcot, and I would love to be able to go back and spend the day. To me, it seemed like it was a very chill park. A lot of people spread out, but like I said, the food and drinks are fantastic, but the rides that are there are definitely worth it. We didn't get to do Frozen because we were out of time, but my daughter split up and they did it because it was getting really hot. By the way, apparently this is what the cast members and our Uber drivers were saying, that this was one of the hottest, most humid weekends of the year. So we were there just roasting all day. So it was very uncomfortable outside, very uncomfortable outside. So we wrapped up our day at Epcot, and the next day, the two parties sort of tag teamed it and split up. Jay and Dana, Sarah and I went to Animal Kingdom because we had really wanted to go see the Avatar stuff. And my daughter and her friend went to Magic Kingdom. So we split up because that's a big deal for them to go and see. And we went to Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom. With basically the focus of going on the Avatar rides. And there are two. There are two major rides there. One of them is called the Flight of Passage and the Navi River Journey. Both of them are very high in demand. You have to get on the lightning lanes for them incredibly fast, just like each park has their own big attraction. This is theirs. We got our passage, our flight No, I'm sorry. Yeah, our flight of passage tickets at 7 a.m. and our ride return time was what, Jay? 9:30, 8:30 p.m., 7:30 p.m. because the park closed at like 8 that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Make sure that you keep this in your mind, by the way, if you're planning a trip. Avatar Land is highly interactive at nighttime with a lot of light up things. Your clothes glow, the trees light up. It's fantastic. But make sure you look because they close the park 1 hour before actual sundown. Now, I will give them credit. They did turn on all the blue lights so you could start to see it creep out.
Yes.
But I don't think we got the full nighttime experience because they literally were kicking us out of the park while the sun was still setting.
Yes. So this is more of a area that you're going to want to see more towards the fall, winter, I would say.
I would agree. I would totally agree. Summer, I would say, is probably the worst time to go, especially because they do close it down. So if you are planning a trip, make sure you look at the time that these parks close, because typically the ones that stay open latest are Hollywood Studios and Magic Kingdom. If you want to see dark time Avatar stuff, you better do your research because you need to know when sunset is and when the park closes, because I'll be honest, I thought it was bizarre for them to close that park down an hour before sunset. I just thought it was a weird thing. I don't know why they couldn't have stayed open until 9 or 10, to keep people over there, because it was not slow. There were still people in that park.
Mm-hmm. There were.
So, Jay, let's just talk about it in general. We went on 3 really big rides while we were in Animal Kingdom. We did both of the Pandora rides, and we also did the Expedition Everest. We also did that water one, which is about the same as every other park's water one, where you go in the circle tube. But Jake,
was it the Cali River Rapids?
Yep, absolutely. That's it. So Jake, why don't you go into the rides and what you thought of them, and also just Pandora in general, because you ended up getting some really cool swag over there.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I was actually, even though I would have loved it, like what we were talking about, to see Pandora at night, because I really, really wanted that full experience. I have to tell you, I was so impressed on everything. Everything there looked so great. You know, when you had the floating mountains, the Hallelujah Mountains there, once you started getting some of the lights popping in later at night, I loved it. It was beautiful to look at.
Now, I don't want to sound like a jerk or a hater, but Jay and I both we're not massive Avatar fans.
Right.
Jay more than me, but not enough to where it's like a decipherable difference. I am not a fan. I cannot believe that they're making 5 sequels to it. To me, it just seems like no one's going to care anymore, but it is what it is. No big deal. I know there are big time fans out there. Here's the thing that Jay and I both said, and I've had this experience one other time, and that was in DCA, is it made us both kind of appreciate the movie more and want to go watch it again. And I had that same experience with Cars Land. I was not a fan of Cars, the film, but then after going to Cars Land, I'm like, I have got to give this another watch because it was so much fun. So they did a really good job. I would say it's, again, masterclass in an experience. Clearly, people gravitate straight to there in Animal Kingdom. Our ride was not very long to get on the other ones because people literally just go there for Avatar. So, again, if you're planning on this, do it. Real quick breakdown, the 2 rides that are there. The Na'vi River experience is just like Pirates of the Caribbean, where you slowly go through that. I will say that I thought that was an incredibly boring ride, and I would never wait more than 20 minutes for that personally. But Sarah looked this up last night. Did you know that the female Na'vi, who kind of is the ruler of the ride, they have an animatronic, and she's sitting down, crisscross applesauce on a rock, kind of like a Yoda position.
Yeah.
But even sitting down, she's probably 6 feet tall, 5 feet tall. She's massive. The most expensive and intricate animatronic in Disney history. I thought that it was Hondo, but Sarah looked it up, and it just barely beat Hondo as far as moving pieces and price. It cost $10 million to build.
Oh my God.
Yep, that's there's a breakdown online about it, and $10 million for that. So I will say I like Hondo more because he walks around, he moves, he seems real. But Sarah pointed this out on the ride. This lady's animatronic, the way that her hands move, it looks like a human being in a costume. It is so, there's no jerkiness, no awkwardness. It's just smooth movement, and good Lord, is it beautiful. So it's a fantastic piece.
Yeah, the whole time she's just sitting there singing.
Yeah, and like waving her arms around and doing her thing, and it's gorgeous. But the ride, I would say, is very dull. It's shorter than Pirates, which sucks because when you get on Pirates, it's at least 15 minutes inside the air conditioning. So this is more like I would say a 10-minute experience. So not a huge fan, but it's definitely cool that they did 2 rides there.
Yes.
That's great. The other ride would be Flight of the, what's it called, Jay? I just said
Flight
it.
of Passage.
Flight of Passage, which, explain it, Jay.
So Flight of Passage is it's basically this ride that it almost feels like if you've been on Soarin'.
It's Soarin'. It's Soarin', except you're riding on a Banshee.
Yes. It's a little bit smaller area, but you could, if you just catch the screen right, you could look below and above you still.
Just like Soarin'.
Like Soarin'.
Except you're right. I didn't think about that, Jay. Soarin' probably seats, I would say 65, 70 people per ride. This was more like 20, 25 because it's not as big and there's not 3 rows of people in 4 different sections. Like Soarin' has 4 sections of people with 3 rows each. This was 3 rows of like what, 1 or 2 rows? Yeah, and that's kind of how it goes.
One.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's just 1. Yeah, there's nobody above or below you. It's just 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're on it, you sit into almost had like a saddle type feel, but you're leaning into this semicircle type.
Yeah, the circle closes around your waist. It literally closes you in so you cannot move, but it does feel like you're on the back of a motorcycle.
Yes. So as soon as you scoot forward, you have this piece that comes up behind you and pushes you forward and kind of locks you in place. So I will have to say, one thing, and this was a conversation we actually had after the ride. Just, be mindful, for those of you, that don't like tight spaces or you can't fit in certain, areas, please do your homework because it is a snug fit.
I will say my buddy Steve-O warned me about this before, but I would recommend anyone who's planning on going on this ride, please look up the size requirements for being on this ride. And I understand what he was saying because this ride, a circle literally comes around and you're in a donut when you sit there to keep you safe. It's a donut, meaning that some people won't literally be able to fit inside of that donut. So if you're even remotely catching wind of what I'm saying and you're thinking about it, do your research because it would suck to get in this line and then be turned away because it is a tight fit. Now, I will say it was a lot of fun. You could feel the Banshee breathing on your thighs like it would come in and out, which was cool. The 3D factor of it. Was it 3D, Jay? It was 3D.
It was 3D.
It was 3D. Was good. And it actually felt like you were diving and flying around. It was very cool to see that many Banshees sort of flying and then you doing your thing by the water and going around. Very, very cool ride. I highly enjoyed it and recommend it. But again, do your research before you go. Look at those height and weight requirements. I'm not joking around. This ride is very snug.
Yeah. And it's more like a 4D ride because you do get sprinkled with water. You
Agreed.
Get the smells. Again, it's like we already said, it's soaring.
Yep, it's exactly that. Good job, Jay. It is definitely a 4D experience. So well worth the wait. I'm glad we got to do it.
Yes.
And we did it literally as the park was closing. We came out, the sun was going down, and they were literally kicking us all out of the park because it was time to close. So make sure, again, you do your research. And that ride, the difference between that and a lot of the other big rides is if that park closes early, they will sell out of tickets even earlier because they have less time to fit in. I will say that ride time also was around 2.5 hours all day long. So do your research, but if you want to go on those rides, get your Lightning Lane reservations in first thing in the morning, 7 a.m. Do not miss that. That note goes across with every one of these theme parks, by the way. Every theme park has a ride that you have to get on at 7 a.m. So, Jay, as far as that goes, what were your other opinions on Animal Kingdom?
There was a lot of walking. There's a lot of shaded areas. I applauded that from the previous day, but it was just. I don't know. I think those were really the highlights for me as far as that park was basically Avatar.
Yep, exactly. Yep. It's another half-day park, and I know that they built Avatar to get people in that park at nighttime because there's really nothing to do in that park. So I agree that this is a good step. I have no idea what else they can do in that park, but I also know that there's a lot of open space for them to work, but also they treat the animals in Animal Kingdom with the highest amount of respect. So maybe they don't want to build, they don't want to disturb them because it is a loud, noisy, messy experience. I don't know if that's part of it, but I would say I would love for them to develop that park more. But as it is, I think it's fun, but another half-day park.
Yes.
So we didn't really have any dining reservations or anything to talk about. We walked around and snacked pretty much all day. We sat down to get out of the heat. But Jay, I'm glad you said the thing about shade, because we were just desperate for shade for a while because it was so hot. So the next day, while we were there, my daughter and her friends were at Magic Kingdom and said that it was busy, but a lot of fun. They did a ton of different rides and just had a great time. So I wasn't there, but they really enjoyed the time in Magic Kingdom. We met up with them later on in the day, and it was a good experience. And then we all regrouped the next day to do what I was most excited for, Jay, which was Hollywood Studios, where we spent an insane amount of time in Star Wars. So let me do this. I want to talk about Hollywood Studios, and then I want Jay to talk about his experience at Star Wars without me barging in and interrupting. So let me get this out of the way. Hollywood Studios is typically, I would say, a half a day park, but we got stuck for the literal entire day, opening to close, because of lightning. They shut down the Skyrail to get the Skyliner to get us back. So we just committed and we stayed all day. There are multiple cool rides in this park. Toy Story Land. My daughter got fast passes and did Slinky Dog and said what most people say. It feels like a very large mall roller coaster. Cute, but not worth a big wait. Toy Story Mania is there, and that's the same as the one on the West Coast. That's that. Cool theming. We did eat there, and we got a sandwich. It was pretty cool. That theming was great. We did enjoy the rest of Studios a lot. I think it's my favorite park over there. I like the theming. We did Mickey's Runaway Railway, which was really cool, especially if you lose your glasses on the middle of the ride and have to shut the ride down for a half an hour to get it, right, Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah. True story. It was really funny. But it was great. I enjoyed the park. We had food there. And we ended the day very late at night. And we'll get to that when Jay's done, because they did something very, very cool at Hollywood Studios that I applaud them for. But the main factor here is this is where Galaxy's Edge is. And we got there first thing in the morning. And we did have reservations for Oga's Cantina at 7:45 p.m. And we also had reservations at Ovi's. Is that what it's called? Ovi's, where you build your lightsaber at 9. Savi's. At what time was the reservation change? 9:45 or 9:15?
It was 9:15.
9:15. And the weirdest thing is that park closed at, was it 8:30 or was it 9? And we were concerned about that because a lot of the reservations were post park closing. And I'm gonna get to that here in a minute. But Jay, your first time in your dream park, the Star Wars land that you've wanted for freaking ever, go through the details.
I was just going to ask, how long has Galaxy's Edge been open for?
About 3 years.
Oh my gosh, the 3 longest years. I have to tell you, I have been so excited since I heard about them opening it up as Star Wars Celebration. Oh my gosh.
5 years ago.
Yeah. That whole day, I got to tell you, that whole day, I woke up that morning and I was in the greatest mood. I had goosebumps. I was ready. So when you walk in and you are so overtaken by everything, it screams Star Wars. You are literally there in Star Wars. So I don't even know. We took how many pictures? It was a ridiculous amount of pictures that between all of us that we were taking.
Oh yeah.
Between the ships, between the scenery. I mean, it was ridiculous. But we got there. What was the name of? I'm going blank on the ride. What was the name of the ride that
Smugglers?
Issues?
Oh no! Rise of the Resistance opened up late, and you could see the problem with that all day is when they have a down ride, it really impacts the rest of the day. Rise of the Resistance is the best roller coaster. It's not even a roller coaster; it's more like a ride experience. But it's the big bad boy in that park. It's the one that you need the reservations for first thing.
Yes, because we were trying to get actually on that early, right?
Yeah, we were hoping to get on twice because they do have a standby line, and I really wanted Jay to experience it twice. But our reservation was seriously later in the afternoon, probably around 3 or 4, and we're there right when park opened, actually half an hour earlier because we were staying on property, and the ride was broken, so everyone had to go do something else.
Yeah, and we waited there for a little bit to kind of feel it out, see if it was going to open. But I don't know how many times we walked by that line and it was still down.
Yeah, which did impact the line later. It got so bad that when they finally did open it, all the people that had Fast Pass or whatever we're calling it, virtual queue lines that they paid for or didn't, that they had for the part where it was down, they let you still do it, but that drags it out for everybody else. Like everybody else was having to wait for it. So it did back up a lot. So like typically when you have a lightning lane return for it, you got straight into the ride. This one we had to wait in, I would say about an hour, right?
Yeah, I would say about an hour.
Okay.
Yeah. But so right after that, what do we hit? Was it Olga's?
We hit Olga's. So this is the thing that I really, really enjoy is Olga's, we didn't have a reservation until nighttime, but I said, let's just go by opening. They open when park opens, not when early admission opens. So we went and we asked politely, hey, is there any chance that we could get in first thing? First of all, I personally love to start the day at Olga's. Their snacks and their drinks are fantastic, but I think that it's a good way to start the day off in the park because you feel like you're inside Star Wars and then you come out and it's perfect. I'm a big fan of doing that first. So we asked, and they politely said, first thing in the morning, sometimes we let standby line people in, but they don't let standby people in right now because it's so busy during the summer.
Yes.
And they let us in. We were literally the first people that they let in. And we had a bar table to ourselves for 45 minutes, and it was so much freaking fun. I love Olga's. I'm telling you, if you go to Star Wars Land or Galaxy's Edge and you do not get a chance to go to Olga's, I don't think you really did it. Getting a reservation for that is harder than getting a reservation for Lightsaber Building or for Rise of the Resistance. So
it really is. Because how long did we try to get that?
Weeks. So I'll tell you a note. If you're planning on a trip to either West Coast or East Coast Disney Star Wars Land, when you know your date, the second you make a reservation, you got to start looking at Olga's Cantina reservations. People do cancel, so they do show up. But like Sarah said, and like what Data and Sarah have been doing, they literally refreshed every day, probably 4 times until they found some reservations open. So if you were looking, do not skip Olga's. Even if you're not a drinker, they have a lot of snacks and non-alcoholic drinks, but it's an experience. You have to go see it, and DJ Rex is a lot of fun.
And fun fact, Steve, do you want to tell them who DJ Rex is that we didn't even know?
We didn't know this, but DJ Rex is voiced by Paul Rubens, nobody else than Pee Wee Herman. How crazy is that? I didn't know that.
That is so crazy. Yeah, I didn't know that either. So
yeah,
very
cool. I thought that was really interesting. So Jay loved all of the details. He was walking around like a little kid, looking at everything, touching the walls, trying to see which buttons were interactive. So we went to Olga's, played around with DJ Rex, had some great drinks. Then we walked around and we went and did Smuggler's Run, which is the one with Hondo where you fly the Millennium Falcon. And Jay, did you enjoy that ride?
I did. To me, though, actually, I enjoyed that ride a lot. But I wanted more. I thought it was a little bit on the short end.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a glorified Star Tours, except you are in control of the Falcon, and what you do does matter. So it's there, and you do get to do it. So it makes it different than Star Tours where you're just watching. But yeah, I would agree. I do love Hondo. I do love the fact that the queue is in this the warehouse or the workshop behind the Millennium Falcon. The queue, if you have to wait it out, is great. I love that when you get on, you actually get to sit in the Millennium Falcon, take pictures at the chess table.
Yes.
The walls and everything are the exact same. It's really fantastic. So it's a great queue and experience. I will say it's not an absolutely fantastic ride. I don't usually do it if I don't have to, just because I've done it enough and it's nothing really that great to me. So I would say you're right. Unlike Rise of the Resistance, I don't think you could do that right enough. This one, I think you do it once or twice and you've got the gist.
And I totally agree with you. This is more of a ride, I would say, for photo ops. That's where you're going to really get your bang for standing in that line. It's just for the photos.
Yep, agreed. But if you really want the whole experience, you obviously have to do it. But it's very cool. It's just it's nothing to blow your hair back. I would agree.
Yeah.
So we did that one, and it was a lot of fun. My daughter and her friend went before us and then split up to go do Tower of Terror. So they got to do it, but everybody got to do that ride, and it was a good time. We also walked the shops and ate. Then we went over and we just sort of trolled the rest of the park.
Yes.
Now, we did do the Lightning McQueen sort of ride, which is not a ride, it's a show. I actually was quite fond of that. First of all, it's in a big indoor room, so when it's hot like it was nice to sort of take 20 minutes and sit inside. There's a life-size Lightning McQueen that moves around and rotates like you're in a ride simulator. Some really funny jokes, but I like that they put that in. I didn't know that was there, but it's cool that they had cars somewhere represented on the East Coast.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So what else you got?
I'm trying to think of what else we hit over there, because there was something else.
We walked through the Star Wars area, so they have like really cool pictures on the walls, a cool shop, photo ops, so you can like take pictures of you drinking at the Cantina bar. So that was kind of cool. But
we hit Rock and Roller Coaster too.
Rock and Roller Coaster is the next one I wanted to talk about, because that's another big ride that I'd never been on before, and that's the Aerosmith ride. And I had an absolute blast.
I agree. I can tell you, this is the second time I've actually been on that ride. The first time I was on that ride was like 20-something years ago, and I can tell you it was fantastic. It's still fantastic. My only issue is it is definitely starting to show its age. So, kind of take that for what it is. Our speaker was kind of blown, so you heard a little crackling sound as the music was playing. So, little things like that, for that ride, I was like, we need to, kind of work on this thing a little bit. But I still love that ride.
You know what? That's interesting that you said that, because I don't want to say I disagree, but I thought that, Aerosmith is not really a trendy band today. They're obviously one of the greatest classic rock bands of all time, but
Right.
I thought that the music is still relevant. They play Walk This Way, which is, them and Run DMC, which still is relevant today. And the music I thought was good. But as far as the ride itself, I could see what you're saying. I still had a wildly good time, but I had never been on it before. So to me, it was all brand new. And I really like the speed factor and that they haven't rethemed it, but it was a really good time. We did not get to do Tower of Terror. The line was too long, and we did not have time for fast passes because our Lightning Lane reservations were already spoken for. So I'll get to the end of this part so people aren't bored. What I wanted to say was, first of all, the best food experience I've had in almost any theme park was here. And we really wanted a sit-down place because we are exhausted. After 3 days of nonstop theme park walking in that heat, we started feeling it. Jay and Dana were leaving the next morning. They had to leave at like 4 a.m., which is insane. So it was wild to me that they were even remotely staying up this late, but they weren't. We wanted a place to sit down and eat. So Sarah's been looking all day for reservations, and everything was booked except for the Italian place in the section of the park that's themed after the Muppets. So Sarah's like, well, there we go. And it is called Mama Melrose's Ristorante Italiano. Okay, take that down. Okay, so Sarah got this. I'm like, you know what? Whatever. We'll just sit somewhere. I don't care as long as we got a spot. We sat down and ate again. Our reservation was 15 minutes after park closing. And I'm like, how are they still taking us? Because it's a sit-down restaurant that takes a while. The service was amazing. It was obviously closing down the park, so we were some of the last people to eat there. The food was unbelievably good. The only thing I've heard from everybody that we went with was that it was one of the best meals that they've ever had. Sarah and Jay had a steak. I had a seafood pasta. Lila had something else, but everybody kept on saying that it was absolutely fantastic. Would you agree?
I would agree. That was probably my favorite out of the whole trip as well.
So I highly recommend, if you're making a trip and you're looking for a place to go, it's your basic Italian food, but it doesn't necessarily seem high end when you're there because it's still in the Muppets area, but it is very good. I would say it is one of the more costly that we spent money on over there, because I mean the steaks, everything is like $50, so definitely more expensive. But if you're looking for a quality meal, I could not recommend it more. And if you're by any chance coming from the West Coast out east and your dinner time is a little bit later, look for a later reservation because they let you stay in the park after it closes. And that's the thing I wanted to say was, we ate dinner at this place, and then Jay had reservations to build his lightsaber all post-park closing. And while they are shuffling people out of the park, they do not care. They don't give you a hard time. They know that you have reservations to do things. We walked back to Galaxy's Edge, and the area was almost completely empty. Jay was in the last group of lightsaber building for the day. We got to hang out while he was doing it because you can only bring one person in with you to build your lightsaber. So Jay and Dana went in there. And when it was done, they let you walk around and take pictures with your lightsaber. This is an hour and 40 minutes after park closing. It's unbelievable that they let you do this. It's so cool. Again, it's why the guest experience is so high in these parks is they just want you to have fun. And good God, did we not have fun at that park closing, Jay?
We really did. And I would have to, just to tag on to that. First of all, how fun. I have to tell you, that's probably the most amount of fun that I had putting together, a lightsaber. I don't do this by no means like a daily basis, but just the experience in itself was just fantastic. Picking your own kyber crystal, putting together your saber. I mean, it was just great. I would say if you're going to be doing something like this, to do it exactly how we did it, to where the park is, basically closed, because you don't get the full experience of your lightsaber until you're outside in the dark. You don't get that during the day.
Agreed. And we have pictures posted of Jay with his on our Instagram page. So go check that out if you want to see how cool the park looks when there's nobody else there. But like Jay said, his bright green lightsaber lights up 10 feet around him. Like it glows on the walls. Again, it goes to their point. Their lighting is so beautiful in that park at nighttime that when you light your lightsaber up, just like the movies, it glows on your face, it glows on the ground, and it glows on the walls of the exterior. It's absolutely, they masterclass that. I mean, it's just fantastic. So here's a big tip. If you are going to build a lightsaber, I could not recommend this anymore. Do it as late as you possibly can. But I will tell you, just like what I said before about Guardians and all of these other things, those reservations go just like Oga's immediately the day that park opens. And I think that they give you 30 days. 30 days before your day, you better get ready to refresh your app that morning and make your reservations for Oga's and Savi's, because they're impossible to get later. But man, Jay, was it cool being there after park closing and watching you with that lightsaber. I'm telling you, I felt like a little kid for you.
And I felt like a little kid. It was so much fun.
Yeah, the look on your face, I was so pumped for it. It was exactly what I wanted for you when you were there. I was really excited. So we then left the park, and Jay left the next morning. Real quickly, so we can kind of wrap this up. The next day, we were all scheduled to leave. My family walked around downtown Disney, which is called Disney Springs over there. And we walked around, we ate dinner, we ate lunch, shopped for a little bit. Then we went to the airport. Our flight was delayed 5 hours. They actually told us it was canceled. So we had to go find a hotel, and then to kill off the next day, because the next flight wasn't until Sunday morning, we went to Universal Studios and did a double park trip over there. And I still enjoy that park so much. I really wish, Jay, next time you could go and see it. The park is fantastic. They have a lot more high-speed rides. It definitely caters more towards the thrill aspect. Lila liked it more because she likes the high-speed rides. I will say, after doing 5 days in theme parks, we were absolutely spent. Done. Floored. When we were done, everyone was ready to leave Universal early. No one cared anymore. We were just like, all right, we're all tired and our feet are killing us. So we did that. Again, it's always a great experience over there. We did not get the one that had the Fast Pass thing. I forget what it's called over there, Express Pass, because it's an extra $100 a person, $90. So it looks cheaper, but if you want Fast Passes for any rides at Universal, get ready to shell out some serious money. That price jump from a regular ticket to one with Express Pass goes up $90 a person a day. It is outrageous what they charge for that. So again, by no means are these cheap trips. If you're going to do it, I highly recommend budgeting, save up in advance, and then have a slush fund that you're going to spend when you're there, because you don't realize how much things creep up on you when you're in that park. It is absolutely crazy, but it is what it is. You should know what you're getting into.
Yeah. Especially, when you're, in the Disney parks too, with your Magic Band, it is so easy to just scan your wrist constantly. So, just keep in, mind that it does creep up on you.
Yep. So we'll end the show up with a list, because we know that everybody in this park on this network likes lists. So this brings up a topic, Jay. We kind of kept it a little bit dull when we were talking about Guardians, so I purposely skipped your review for Rise of the Resistance right now, because I want to go through, Jay, what are some of your favorite theme park rides? Give me your top 3. I don't think we'll have time to go through 5 each, so let's just do your top 3. And it can be in any parks, but let's see what you thought about the ones over there on the East Coast.
So I would have to tell you that Avatar Flight of Passage.
Wow, it's already high up on your list. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really was. And then it starts getting a little weird, because I have to tell you, I I really, really enjoyed the 2 Star Wars rides. So the Smuggler's Run and
Rise of the Resistance.
Yeah, Rise of the Resistance. So I would almost have to put those as my top 3 because they were most memorable for me. So
even more than Guardians.
Oh, shoot. Okay, now I have to change that. Guardians. Yeah, I would throw Guardians in there. Oh my gosh. I would take Smuggler's Run out.
Okay. So out of the East Coast, you like those 3. And I would have to say my list is almost the exact same. My number 1 would be that Guardians ride is just absolutely fantastic. I do think it kind of lacks on the animatronics and the touchable factor, but the ride is so cool and so fun. It's just a blast. Jay, can you just explain how much you enjoyed Rise of the Resistance, though? Because I keep on telling people Rise of the Resistance is less like a ride and more like an experience. And you really at the end said the same thing.
It really is. I mean, you're going through how many queue lines before you even get on there?
Exactly. It's I don't even know. There's the main one, and then there's one where you join the Resistance, and then you get in your ship that gets taken over, and then that opens up the door to the amazing scene where you are looking at the stormtroopers by the big port, right? Yes. For the ship. Then you go from that line over into another one where the ride actually kind of starts to take shape, and you start doing it that way. But I think that's 3 different queue lines or sections of the ride before you even touch your ride car.
Exactly. And those are well worth it. You are blown away.
So I would say once you're in the area, it's more like a 20-minute experience, by the way. The ride itself is about 12 minutes long. Jay, you could be more like 25 minutes if I'm thinking about it. From once you're inside and you start to interact, the amount of stuff going on there is a lot. But
yes.
It's wildly cool, and in case you haven't ever looked it up, I highly recommend watching the ride stuff on YouTube. It's a trackless ride that goes through you being taken as a resistance by the First Order, and Kylo Ren is very heavy on the ride, and you are in a Star Destroyer, and you're trying to sort of escape, and Poe and them are trying to get you out, and they're shooting. There's full life-size AT-ATs, and it's just unbelievable how cool it is, and I still don't know how that lightsaber cuts through the roof ahead of you. I look at it so closely every time. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it either. And I was blown away because I didn't even see it at first. You had to tap me on the shoulder and, show it to me. Yeah, that was fantastic.
My brother-in-law went on it a couple of weeks ago with us, and he knew what to look for. He was looking right at it, and at the end, he was still to go, Steve, I have no effing idea how they do that. And it's true. I don't know. I have no idea. It is absolutely incredible what they do, but it is an incredible ride. This trip, my favorite ride was Guardians of the Galaxy, making me really happy that it was just as good as I was hoping it was. I really wish I could have done it more. Rise of the Resistance is absolutely it's something out of this world. There's just nothing like it out there. But I will tell you, I still highly, highly enjoy Rip Ride Rocket at Universal Studios. I think it's my favorite high-speed roller coaster. This time I actually kind of blacked out on the ride a little bit, and so did Sarah. It was really bright, and there's a lot of G-forces on this ride. And by the time you go up and down, I kind of lost vision for a second, but I love it. I really like the Aerosmith ride, but I would say that those are my 3 that are up there, Rise, Guardians, and then I'll switch over Parks and still say that it's just a fantastic experience over there. I also love Gringotts Escape, but there's a lot of really good rides over there. If I'm going to bounce between parks, my favorite ride still is the 2 Guardians rides. A lot of that comes out of my bias because I love Guardians so much. But I still have to say what they did with Mission Breakout is so incredibly good. I love the storytelling aspect in the queue. It's so fun. But the 2 Guardians rides, if you are a fan, you will love it. They don't really fit in with most of the other Marvel sort of experiences because they're so high speed and goofy. So I really enjoyed those.
Yeah. So I would say overall, the trip for me, well worth it. Had a blast. And it was just fun to, finally, it's been so long that, since you and I have hung out and, doing stuff. And we've been talking again for over 3 years about this ride. So
it was well worth it. Yeah, it was well worth it. Planned out perfectly. Thank you to Sarah. Sarah spent more time planning this than I can't even imagine. She knew the stress levels on it, and she dealt with it well. So I want to end with
thank you, Sarah.
if you are doing one of these, reach out to someone that knows. You can reach out to Jay and I or Sarah because she plans it all very well. She was actually supposed to be on here, but recording kind of early in the morning, so she's sleeping. But she was going to come on and talk about it. But if you have any questions, please reach out to us on our Instagram or reach out to Blade or anybody on the network and get in touch with Jay, Sarah, or I. We can help you plan this because planning these trips is crucial. You have to know what you're getting into. And one thing I will say, Jay, you didn't say it before, planning your lightsaber building at the end of the day, I think is way better than first thing because carrying that around all day does get difficult. You can't bring a lot of things onto rides, and the lightsaber is 4.5 feet tall. It's very big. And depending on
it's very heavy too. It's heavier than you would think.
Yes. So I would recommend the later in the day you can, when you build a lightsaber, the better. Not just because of comfortable factor. I don't want anyone breaking it. These are too expensive to carry around and drop accidentally or to snap the top off. I know they're very good at repairing them for you while you're there because people break them all the time by having lightsaber fights and stuff. But all it takes is you turning a corner too fast or somebody driving their rascal scooter into you could bust it. So I would recommend doing it at the end of the day. But
and I was nervous the whole time I was flying home with it too.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
So just make sure that you do your research from height and weight requirements to food reservations and more importantly, ride reservations. If you need any help, reach out to us on our Instagram. We are on there. We can take direct messages. We are pretty good about responding to all of that stuff. And our Instagram is ink_and_paint_show. Ink and Paint Show with underscores in between all the words. Go follow us there. Check us out. See what we're up to. But if you have any planning questions, please reach out. You have to know what you're doing when you take one of these trips. It's too far away and too expensive to do it just willy-nilly and figure out when you get there. You will miss things that you wish that you didn't.
Yes.
Plan. YouTube. Research, Google, read all of the details. Do not wait last minute before making one of these park trips. Get your Magic Bands early and fast.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
It's almost like the whole Boy Scout motto. What is that? Be prepared.
Be prepared. Absolutely. Be prepared. Semper Paratus. Always ready. That's the Coast Guard's motto. But you got to be ready for things to change and be prepared for that weather. Yep. Because as soon as it starts to rain in Florida, the outdoor rides stop. They stop outside. So you have to have a place to go and an alternative. So
almost everything stopped. I mean, we couldn't even get into the pool.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
have backup plans for everything, know where you're going to go and have the app and be researched. But anyway, we went on too long. It's hard to go over a park planning trip with still other things. We have a stupid amount of Disney news to talk about, from trailers that have been released. There's a really interesting dramatic story. She-Hulk released the trailer. I think it looks absolutely horrible. And everyone universally says that the CGI looks so bad. Did you hear what they're doing with the CGI?
I heard something that they're going back in and fixing it.
Yep. So make sure you go back and you listen to the next episode of Ink and Paint with Jay and I, because we are going to be telling you all of these crazy things that have been happening. But yes, Jay, some crazy stuff is going on like that. I mean, I can't believe that they released these things without being totally ready. It blows my mind. Well, anyway, you guys, thanks for listening. Also, make sure you follow everybody on the Nightcap Chat platform. Lance, Ken, and Blade, they're doing their things. Go make sure you follow Ken's stories over at Drawn to Comics. And Jay, that's all we got for this show. Trying to keep it right around an hour. We covered a lot of information. A lot of great information, though. Absolutely. So thanks for joining, everybody. I've been Steve.
And I'm Jay.
And remember, be greater.
Be yourself.